Anyway, joining me now to discuss this and other issues, the big stories of the day, is Campaigns Director Rebecca Ryan. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, Kevin.
Thank you for coming into the studio. I usually see you through a sort of Zoom screen. But let's talk about this migrant plan of Labour, which he unveiled, with great fanfare today. And basically, it's all about, like, Britain should take its fair share of migrants. No! Well, what does that mean? We left the EU so nobody could dictate to us what a fair share is. I think our fair share of migrants is zero. We don't want them. We're full up. But anyway, he says that he can do a deal with Europe to accept a load of migrants, thousands and thousands, in return for a returns deal, so that some of the ones that we've got here, we accept some from Europe and then we send others back. Well, you can't do a returns deal with the EU. You have to do it country by country by country. So that's one stumbling block here. But apart from that, how do you solve the migrant crisis with a plan that will continue to accept illegal migrants into this country?
It's like he's sleepwalked through the last sort of 7 years, isn't it, since the Brexit referendum, because we're all fully aware that the reason that the Conservative government has an 80-seat majority, is because of the absolute mess of what went on in those in-between years where you had Theresa May, complete Brexit fudge of like, oh, we're going to have this kind of relationship. And one of the key factors in all of that debate was about immigration. And so we've been having this debate in the country for years and years and years. But Keir Starmer seems to think that, the country would see this as a logical way that, of course, we turn to the EU. They're going to solve the problem for us. How could he have missed the fact that the EU was creating the problem? The EU certainly aren't going to change the problem.
The world's most overrated politician, Angela Merkel, who said, come on. And guess what? They didn't stop at Germany or France. They wanted to come here. This just isn't going to work. And then the other tranche of this fantastic scheme is, listen to this. He's going to call the migrants terrorists. So what? So what? What's that mean?
This is the thing, is he's saying one thing on one hand to keep the the lefties happy with this, we'll go sucking up to the EU, and then on the other hand he thinks he can throw a bit of meat to the red wall and say, they're like terrorists, they're that's how bad they are, and that people will just fall for that. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever.
People smugglers will be classified as terrorists. He says he'll use terrorism laws, but why not just lose laws? You don't need terrorism laws to deal with them. Give them life, that kind of thing. And the other problem here, I think, and this is not just exclusive to Labour and Keir, it's our body politic. Every drama needs a pantomime villain. And the pantomime villain in the migrant crisis is the people smuggler. So they're evil people. So evil people. So we're going to throw the book at them, call them terrorists, send them to jail for the whole of their lives, execute them, and all that. And what this characterises the migrants as hapless pawns in an evil game. They're not. They're breaking our laws just as much as the people smugglers. They're not forced onto these dinghies. In fact, they pay 5,000, 10,000, sometimes more to get into them and cross the channel. So this exoneration of every migrant that comes to this country because they're just, in the clutches of evil people smugglers, it's just, again, incoherent and inaccurate.
Exactly. As you say, these people, by definition, are criminals. They're coming here illegally, and that's what makes British people really, upset and stressed, because we're a nation who are pretty obsessed with fairness, and you've got this, thousands of people who are coming over illegally. So by definition, they're already prepared to break the law. And here we've got Keir Starmer, who's hoping to win the next general election, making the people smugglers scapegoats. And of course, they play a key role in this, in getting them over on the boats and all of that kind of thing. So yes, absolutely, they should be treated in an extremely firm way. But hard words aren't going to make a difference on that, are they? But you're right, they shouldn't be taking the blame off those people who are prepared to break the law to get here.
Absolutely. And we've got some video. We'll play it while we talk of the scale of the crisis. We talk about the boats that come across the channel, but of course the source of much of this problem are the similar boats that come across the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
And these are, look at these, this is like a kind of armada of dinghies, small boats sailing into Sicily, having come across from northern. Look at it. And they're talking about Italy this year will be, I'm going to use that controversial word, I know you're not allowed to use it, invaded by 750,000 migrants. Now, what do? Do they hang around in Italy? Do they? Hell, they set off on the long journey north through Italy, through France, all the way to Calais, and then they proceed on to here. So looking at this, these people, most of these people you see here will end up in Britain or trying to get to Britain. This is the scale of the problem, and dealing with the EU, that won't solve it. And by the way, let's sort of move on slightly in terms of Keir Starmer. Another part of his big announcement, he's over in The Hague with Pixie Cooper, the Shadow Home Secretary. He says that he will not reverse Brexit should he be elected, in the grim event that he's elected to power, but he will seek closer ties to Europe. Well, why? Why? We didn't vote for closer ties with Europe.
Exactly, absolutely. And this is the thing that scares the life out of people. And, you know, it will be really interesting to see the reaction in the polls, because this is the issue. And I don't know who's advising him to make these moves and to go parading around in Europe as if he is, you know, definitely it's a shoe-in for the next person in number 10. Because I don't think that the British people are going to respond very well to that. You know, the EU have time and time again thwarted what the British people wanted, and we've voted numerous times on this with general elections and referendums, what have you, and made it clear that we do not trust the EU to resolve this issue. So what's he thinking about?
It strikes me that come the next election, in terms of the migrant crisis, your choice will be between Rishi Sunak, you know, who lets sort of 80,000 of them a year come over, and then they stay here, or so it was 50,000 last year, wasn't it? Looks like we'll end up with about 60,000 this year, and then put them in hotels and sort of various places around the country. Meanwhile, letting in more than 1 million legal immigrants, migrants. So that's the choice with him, and the choice with Keir Starmer is we won't stop the boats, but we will bring in more migrants, you know, in return for a deal to return them to the EU, which is constitutionally impossible. So that's your choice. Who are you going to vote for? Yeah, me neither. Neither of them. Yeah, who do we vote for? God knows. When